Hey, how are ya? My name is Ben, and I'm a movie buff. Today I'm going to be reviewing 5 summer movies that I've seen in the last few months. Let's do this. So the first movie that I'm going to review is Avengers Infinity War. I like this movie a lot. I don't know if I loved it as much as other people do. It's currently 20 in the IMDb Top 250, which is pretty incredible. But I still really liked it. I think the thing that stood out for me the most in this movie was how well structured it was. So this movie's kind of unprecedented in the sense that there are so many other movies that have been leading up to this gigantic movie with so many characters from different Marvel movies that if you had an average director or an average editor working on this movie, it could get really confusing where everyone is, where they're heading, and all that. What I thought was great was it was never really confusing to understand who was where and doing what, and they also did a good job of kind of foreshadowing, like, oh, well, this character's by themselves, so they're probably going to meet up with these other characters, so that's cool. So, which is good because the scope of this movie is incredible. It's like Avengers on steroids, and the way that was handled, I really liked. The Russo brothers have yet to disappoint me. They did this and Civil War and Winter Soldier, both Captain America movies. So I really liked that. Thanos was really cool. It was nice to kind of get a sense of like his motivation and his reasons for why he does what he does. The movie flowed well. It was never boring. It's the longest Marvel movie so far, about at 2.5 hours. It was interesting from start to finish. And the movie was also pretty funny. A lot of funny moments like, I am Groot, I am Steve Rogers. So that was probably my favorite funny moment. And the ending, which I will not spoil here, even though a lot of you probably already seen it, I would say it was just very different from pretty much the ending of all the other MCU movies up until this point. Normally, we kind of get a sense of closure, even though we know the story's going to continue on. But we get a sense of like this thing that we are watching, like it's done for now, but it'll continue later. And I like here how none of that. We get a cliffhanger. We get just the craziest thing, and then roll credits. The next movie I'm going to review is Deadpool 2. I really like the first Deadpool. And while Deadpool 2 isn't as good as the first Deadpool, it's still a good sequel. I think the thing that's great is while it definitely feels like familiar, like it's definitely more of the same, lots of violence, lots of gore, lots of winks to the camera and references and vulgar humor and colorful profanity, it's still fun to watch. And I also like the fact that I was surprised by the first Deadpool having as much heart as it did. And then this movie, Deadpool 2, I felt like it had even more heart. Like there were some moments towards the end that were kind of moving, which is strange to say in a movie like Deadpool 2, but it was. They had some really nice music, and they had just these really nice moments between some of our characters that were just full of warmth and heart, and the emotion there was just really really beautiful. So I didn't think they would do more of that in the sequel, but they did. So that was really great. I also liked the opening credits that they did. So in the first movie, they had like a fun spin on the opening credits. And in this movie, they did the same thing. It took me like 2 seconds to realize, oh, I know what they're doing, and it's awesome. There's a song that plays in the finale during this kind of intense moment. And for me, that was the funniest moment of the whole movie. It was such a great combination of things. Hearing the song and then seeing the scenes separately wouldn't be funny. Put the two of them together, comedy gold. The next movie I'm going to talk about is Solo, a Star Wars story. I was kind of nervous about this movie because I'd heard about all the production troubles and history. There were directors getting replaced by Ron Howard and all the reshoots. But then I saw the movie, and it just reminded me why I love Star Wars. It was enjoyable. I really like the action scenes. Man, there were some cool action scenes, especially one that happens in the first half of the movie that was just like a good kind of roller coaster ride of like this is happening and that's happening and oh, watch out for this. So there was just a lot going on to kind of keep me engaged. It's also cool to hear about all these things in the Star Wars universe as like, oh yeah, that happened years ago, right? Like the Kessel Run and this and that. And then in this movie, we actually get to see them. We actually get to learn more about that, which was really cool. The movie's kind of like Rogue One in the sense that it's fun but flawed. Like there are definitely some issues, like a pretty strange cameo towards the end of the movie, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but it's there. And there are some things with the story and characters, but given its circumstances, I'm surprised it turned out as well as it did. There's a moment in the movie where you hear the Imperial March, like the theme that John Williams first did for Empire Strikes Back. Like it's the theme, like it's so iconic. And this movie kind of took something that we were familiar with and tweaked it a little bit. And what they did was amazing. Just probably one of the best decisions that they made regarding the movie, as odd as it may sound. But when you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. So I was pleasantly surprised by Solo, and I look forward to owning it on Blu-ray and watching it again. The next movie that I'm going to bring up is Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. So I think I was one of the people that liked Jurassic World more than most people did when it came out in 2015. I didn't feel like I needed a sequel, but of course they made one anyways because Jurassic World made over $1 billion. And the sequel, it's okay. It's kind of disappointing. It's not an awful movie, but it's not a good movie either. In my humble opinion, I wish that they spent more time in the with the what happens in the first half of the movie, the first hour. I wish they kind of extended that and delved deeply into what was going on there. But they do kind of like hurry up and like, okay, well, we need this thing to happen so we can move on. And then boom, we did that. Well, let's move on. Boom, we did that. Let's move on. And for me, I was just kind of getting bored in the second half of the movie, especially like the last 20, 30 minutes. I just was having a hard time caring about the characters. Right? The filmmakers and writers were saying like, oh, we're doing this cool, exciting thing. But not really, in my humble opinion. You're kind of changing the setting, but it's still the same principle of dinosaurs trying to eat humans and humans trying to run away. So it wasn't that different. I mean, the last 5 minutes of the movie, I was kind of surprised by, so that kind of got me interested in the movie again. But a lot of the second half of the movie, I didn't frankly care for. So I wish that they spent a bit more time in the first half of the movie. And the last movie I want to bring up is Hereditary. This is a movie that's not really like a summer blockbuster like the other four that I mentioned earlier. It's a horror film, one that I've heard about for quite some time now, so I was really interested to see what was going to happen. And it's a good movie. To be honest, the only criticism I'd give is that when you get to the reveal, like to the secret at the end of the movie, there's all this like, what's going on? What's really going on in this family's history? When you realize what that is, it just feels pretty familiar. Like, we've seen this in plenty of other horror movies before, guys, but I do think that, like, the first hour and a half of the movie is still really interesting to watch, very spooky, and it's a horror movie with substance, you know? Like, a lot of horror movies kind of have, like, just this bland idea that we've heard of time and time again, and you just know, like, the various beats that it's going to hit along the way before you roll credits. But this movie, I like that it had substance. I like that it relied on this interesting story, on these characters, on very good performances, which is really cool. The movie is not scary in the sense that there are a lot of jump scares, right? But I like how spooky it is, you know? Like, the movie didn't terrify me exactly, but there are a lot of great scenes where the characters in their house at night, and they're walking around, and you feel like, well, if this was an average horror movie, you know, there'd be a false scare. Oh, it's this thing. Oh no, it's just my cat. It's fine. And then the real scare behind the character moments away from killing them. And I like that this movie kind of had this sense of something might happen, but something might not. It might be nothing. But these characters are still scared and still wondering what's going on here. So doing that, I felt kept the movie interesting. So that's it, guys. I think the only summer movies I want to see after this are really like Incredibles 2, Ant-Man and the Wasp, maybe Mission Impossible 6, we'll see. But a lot of the summer movies I was really looking forward to, I did get to see and I did get to explain here, which is great. So that's everything I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to comment, like, and share this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah. So how about that? Yeah. So I go high five. Stop it. I go high five.